There's going to be some new rules in the Nebraska locker room. Matt Rhule hired as the next head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Can he rebuild yet another college football program? It's a great time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Big Ten content every single day. Always crush that like button to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses. Huskers finally got their guy. Trev Alberts finally got his guy, Matt Rhule. This is going to be a great hire. I really believe this because he has a proven track record of rebuilding programs, and Nebraska needs to be rebuilt right now. Let's take a look. Temple, he was 2-10 his first year when he was a head coach at Temple. And then in years 3 and 4, won 10 games apiece. Well, that's pretty good. Now let's move on to Baylor, right? 1-11 his first year after the stink, the sanctions of all the Art Briles stuff that went on. Then just a couple of years later, in his third year, won 11 games. The stats, the numbers, they speak for themselves. Matt Rhule can rebuild a football program. And to be honest with you, I don't think Nebraska is as big of a rebuilding job as those jobs. Because Nebraska, under Scott Frost, they recruited in the top 5 in the Big Ten. They recruited top 25 nationally. It's just Scott couldn't keep these kids there for whatever reason, and he couldn't develop those kids. That's all really Matt Rhule has to do. You need to focus on the development of this program. It's proven that you can recruit to the University of Nebraska. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think Matt Rhule could maybe even step up recruiting just a little bit, just based on his track record. So I don't think it's a huge rebuild, but it is a rebuild. I think the main area to rebuild this program is between the ears, is the mentality. Because there's a lot of times, they talked about it on the broadcast in the Iowa game. There's this mentality when, things are going bad and we're getting to a one-score game. Here we go again. It's hard not to think that. I think it's the mentality. You see it on the field. Mickey Joseph has gotten it better as interim head coach, but you saw it a lot during the Scott Frost era. Here we go again syndrome. And Matt Rhule, you got to nip that in the bud. You got to kill that right away on day one and establish a new culture and establish a new mentality and a new physical presence. And I think those are 3 words: mentality, physical, culture, that Trev Alberts mentioned in his statement, and I think are very important to him, and one thing that I think Matt Rhule can really turn around in this Nebraska program. Look, if I'm Matt Rhule, the first phone call I'm making is to Mickey Joseph, and it says, hey, let's stay in Lincoln, Nebraska. Look, if you can get Mickey to be the wide receivers coach, recruiting coordinator, associate head coach type of position, I think that's a win. What Mickey Joseph has been able to do on the field, kind of stabilizing this thing, and obviously that big win over the Iowa Hawkeyes, that's proven itself enough. And then you factor in, I think the big part for him is his development of the wide receiver position, right? Trey Palmer just announced he's going to the NFL. What a job Mickey did in developing him both at LSU and Nebraska. And then you look at recruiting. I want to zero in on a kid out of Lincoln East High School in Lincoln, Nebraska. Malachi Coleman, 4-star guy, top 100 guy in the country. Said he wasn't really pondering Nebraska a lot in terms of a decision until Mickey Joseph came along, until Mickey Joseph started recruiting him, and the guy freaking committed. Mickey Joseph is a great recruiter. You've not only heard it out of Malachi Coleman, you've kind of heard it out of other guys that said, when Mickey started recruiting me, I bought in to what he was selling. Mickey is the guy that can get the talent in the building. And I think Matt Rhule is the guy that can develop the talent and make them NFL players. I don't think there's any question about that. Look, you turned around Temple. You turned around Baylor. Great. That's what got you the job at Nebraska. But the Big Ten is a different ballgame. The Big Ten is a little bit of a different story. I think that's kind of the big question I have, is can he step up to this level of play of major college football, going to the Power 2 or the Power 5, so to speak. There's a lot of competition with the Trojans and the Bruins coming in. It's going to be a very deep conference. I think that's one question, maybe one concern I have, is stepping up to this level of football. Man, it's going to be fun to see him develop. If I'm if I'm a Minnesota fan, if I'm an Iowa fan, I'm a Wisconsin fan, I'm a little skittish right now because I've seen what Matt Rhule can do. And I kind of know the coach that Matt Rhule is. Nebraska's been lacking leadership in their program. And now that maybe Nebraska has a guy that can develop some of the talent, that can kind of get some better talent in, especially if they keep Mickey Joseph on that coaching staff, that could be a dangerous combination for everybody involved and could see the Cornhuskers maybe win some games. I'm sure Husker fans would love that. I want to know what you guys think of this hire. Do you like the hire of Matt Rhule? Personally, I think it is a great hire. Leave your thoughts in the comments below what you think, and subscribe to Big Ten Ted if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted, and we'll see you in the next one.